The GORECAST is brought to you by American Horrors, the greatest uncut horror channel in the world. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all horror. As well as the station of decapitation without your head.
America's longest running horror channel, www.withoutyourhead.com.
The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
I'll give you famous last words in a minute.
Yeah. I don't know. You hit studio. Hello.
Hey, studio. We're in, so people can talk. Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Hello and welcome to the GORECAST, where Johnny is currently messing around with our visual settings.
Yeah.
Because we're all dark. It's gone all dark. And it's not just because we're talking about the dystopian possibilities of artificial intelligence running amok.
I don't know what happened there.
Yay, we're bright again.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. That was... Okay, I don't know what happened there. Yeah. That was weird.
So for our first show of 2018, we thought we'd have a very special guest in the form of Mr. Ger Hanley from the upcoming Sorry About the Fucking Language?
Sorry about the fucking profanity.
I knew it was close enough. Podcast in which he'll be venting his opinions on all sorts of sundry topics. And this time he's decided to join us as we go on about AI because, to be perfectly honest, we took a look at a few films and we took a look at a few TV shows and we decided, you know what?
Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. Give the man a little chance to talk about his page for a minute because I need to share this out and figure out why everything's gone glitchy.
Fair enough.
Fair enough, yeah.
Artificial intelligence might be good in some respects, but I feel like normal intelligence and mostly technology is AF in me right now.
Okay then, Ger. So what exactly are you going to be doing on your podcast?
Pretty much the podcast is going to cover all social issues. I'm pretty much looking at doing, like the current podcast for my first one, I'm looking to do, I look at the housing, the way the housing is set up in Ireland, the rental market, and going on about that, how people, the price of renting, the fact there's no cap on the rents in Limerick City, and how people can save for their mortgage, and why it's so hard to do it, how to save that 10% deposit of the house. It's pretty tough. Other than that, the podcast is pretty much going to be about travel, general news, and all types of discussion that I want to keep open for everyone else. And I like, there's no limits, there's no barriers, there's no fucking filters. As I said in my pre-podcast, that to be absolutely, we won't put up with the social justice warrior shit. I'm absolutely the anti-feminist. So pretty much that's it, and thanks very much for having me out tonight.
Well, thanks for coming along. We figured you'd probably be able to add a much needed, well, maybe not much needed, but certainly an interesting third voice to the topic of artificial intelligence, because to be honest, normally on the show we just basically review films, and whether it's in a certain subgenre of horror or not. Subgenre. But for the sake of this, we thought we'd take a look
Hello,
at
Shauna.
Oh, hey, Shauna.
Hey, Chuck.
But,
okay, there we go.
For the sake of this show, we said we'd take a look at a kind of a broader thing, and something that does work into horror a lot, because to be perfectly honest, let's face it, there's nothing more terrifying than the notion that we're going to come along, create something that is smarter than us, that's going to turn around and go, you know what, humanity, you're a fucking pain in the arse, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And just eliminate us and or keep us around for
Human
the
plague,
trip.
wasn't that what you called us?
Well, we are.
Human plague.
We are. We're not but a fucking plague, and as soon as we create something smart, and as soon as we create something as smart as ourselves, it's going to become smarter than us, potentially pretty
We
fucking
are a
fast.
little bit, though, if you think about it. We're like locusts with attitude and a personality.
I've said it before, we are the virus that infects reality. The whole reason that we're limited to this solar system is because of our destructive potential.
Would you say that you're the cream in its coffee?
No.
Would you say that it's wrestler's favourite wrestler?
No.
No? Okay.
We're destruction incarnate.
When you're starting off with talking about artificial intelligence, I think you really need to look at, do we actually need it? I mean, we've survived. Look how far we've come without it. I mean, is there a need for this new...
You just jumped right in there, okay.
Is there this new need to have robots who can drive your car for you and who will be there in the morning and make your coffee, make your breakfast when you want it? Why is this not going to make society more lazy? And I mean, we're already lazy enough. And you need to look at the youth growing up. They have no idea how to do anything.
You see,
And I'd actually go on to Baines about this because we discussed it during the week. And Baines said that if he knows how to light a fire, he knows how to make a camp. But if there's these kids set in the woods, Baines, if you want to take over there,
but it's just like modern. If you were stuck in the woods, you'd find some way of being able to make a bit of shelter and light a fire and stuff like that, right? But like modern, like the millennium.
Ray Mears.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Ray Mears or Bear Grylls if you just
fuck him.
Bear
drink your own piss. Just drink your own piss.
It's all about drinking your own piss.
Bear Grylls, how do you get out of this stupid situation? Ray Mears, how do you not find yourself in a stupid situation? I think I know who I'm watching.
Ray. But the point of what he was saying was, it's just basically they're so technologically dependent that they literally just sit there on their phone, being like, why can't I?
You see, that's the interesting question when it comes to artificial intelligence. In fact, when it comes to synthetic life in any way, shape, or form, whether it be at the level that we can call artificially intelligent, or whether it's just pre-programmed machines, the question is, why do we want to do it? Is it so that we have something that we think will make our life more convenient? Basically, create a slave race because we all know that's going to turn out fucking crap, or is it the potential of building something that can help us? Consider, right? An artificial intelligence smart enough to come to the decision to wipe out humanity in a heartbeat could theoretically, if groomed properly, if created, if handled correctly, could theoretically put that kind of brain power into thinking, how can it better the human race? How can it solve some questions? Now, granted, there are questions that are deliberately being left unsolved because people are fucking pricks, but there's a lot of stuff that could be solved if we were smart enough to do it. And
have you seen the two robots that are arguing about the future of humanity?
The ones that
Sophia, the fully self-aware one. Sophia, the Sophia point 2, because Sophia point 1 said she'd kill all humans. Sophia point 2 jokes about it, but then actually says it as a joke. It's in the American Horrors episode.
But go back to what Gil said. He said there's a lot of what ifs. What if we could create this? I think we're gone to the aspect now where we don't really understand, and the people can't comprehend what they are creating. That the algorithms have got so strong that it's gone so far and so fast that people they're literally shutting down these products. And what happens when we do create that? You can't uninvent something. So basically, you're getting into the.
But that's
stage
the reason I brought up the robot, is because there's already a fully self-aware robot out there. So it's a case of you can't just destroy it now.
See, here's the thing, right? And it's actually, okay, like I said, normally in the GORECAST, we watch films, we review films, we give your opinion.
Yeah.
In this particular instance,
we watch the movies, and the movies spurned on a larger topic.
So with that in mind, right, one of the earliest films that we would have been taking a look at would have been the Short Circuit series. Yeah. Now in that, because of the...
Terminator was first.
No.
Short Circuit's 86. Terminator's 84.
They tied in with the Rocky film, so...
Yeah.
Anyway,
so Terminator would have been the first.
All right, fine. Okay. Short Circuit was after Terminator. My point is this, right?
Let's start off with the...
Short Circuit is... Short Circuit is...
You're not going to drinking.
No, it's product placement. We don't condone. we drink all the time.
Pay me, motherfucker.
In Short Circuit, you have, technologically speaking, by modern day standards, a relatively primitive attempt at artificial intelligence. First with the robotic drones, which are semi-intelligent but still programmable, and then with number 5, who gets accidentally supercharged when struck by lightning, allowing the learning computer to basically get a boost and become sentient. Now, over the course of this film, that sentience happens very, very slowly because of the technology that's there and because of the limited brain power, basically, that Johnny Five has.
Donald Hall, this is not the couch giveaway.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're on the wrong channel.
Definitely on the wrong channel. We are not giving away our couch.
Chris Randolph said, "Smart humans make smarter technology, makes dumb humans LOL."
That is a very good point. Makes lazy humans, I would fucking say.
I'd call that a full loop, and I like full loops. You know how much I like connectivity.
I don't think it makes dumb people so much as lazy people, and lazy people have a tendency to take over the world somehow.
James Roach, tech has already affected human evolution. For example, touchscreen phones are around 8 years maybe, and they have already affected people's thumbs. What? I haven't heard about this.
Carpal tunnel.
What?
Carpal tunnel.
Ah, nice, high five. That's good. I'll accept that level of cheesy.
I had to explain it to you because you didn't catch me the first time.
That
You
was
go
okay.
investigate that. I'll go back to my
Yeah,
point
I'm going to go
about-
take a look at that.
I'll go back to my point about Short Circuit. By the end of that first film, right, he had basically, once again, limited by the actual technology of the time and by what they could, and compare. Remember, he's supposed to be state of the art for the time. He's basically childlike intelligence by the end of it. He is self-aware. He understands the concept of death. He understands the concept of the end of life. He understands exactly that he is alive, that he wishes to continue to be alive. He manages to reprogram his brethren into the Three Stooges, out with the military not once but twice. It's actually hilarious that in modern day comparisons, the antagonist, the general that's going all out to hunt him down, in a modern day AI movie, he's the fucking good guy because he knows like his fear is that it'll run amok. This film was basically, it came off as very kiddyish because of the casting of Steve Guttenberg and the woman whose name I can't remember that played the character Stephanie. They were so high profile that it kind of changed certain things.
Overshadowed the whole story.
Was it Molly Ringwald or something? No, that's your one
definitely
from.
wasn't. Don't talk about Molly Ringwald.
Anyway, my point is the characters.
She's never done that to you.
The characters themselves were originally supposed to be social introverts, and the whole point is that when upon meeting Johnny Five, he is their gateway to the outside world, and it was really kind of a different story, kind of more of a tearjerker kind of thing approach to AI. My point is that in that film we had a very slow progression to sentience because of the limited brain capacity of the robot. In the second film, he actually states when showing himself off when he's arrived on that he's updated himself to 500 megabytes of RAM. Now I was kind of discussing this with you a while ago. If you put it in terms of human evolution and the way that humans evolve, when you're a kid, you know your brain power is limited because you're still growing. You reach a certain point. You reach teenage years and you get this influx of hormones and your body is preparing itself to get to the adult level. If you look at Short Circuit 2 as Johnny 5 hitting his teenage years, that upgrade to the 500 megabytes is the equivalent of puberty kicking in. And, the brain power, it's there, but now it's kind of approaching things from a slightly different angle. Hormones are coursing through it. Emotions cause you to look at things differently. So all of that means that Johnny 5 is still getting this gradual thing. There was a proposed third movie. In that third movie, theoretically, I guess, he could have been operating at an adult level, having perhaps upgraded himself again from 500 megabytes to...
Like, has a job,
maybe
has a mortgage,
he
two
already
little Johnny 5s, Johnny 2.5s.
Actually, he has a job by the end of Short Circuit 2.
Oh, yeah, shit.
He is the CEO. Yeah. He's one of the CEOs of Input Inc.
Yeah.
The company that himself and Ben set up, and the other fucking con artist who I can't remember the name of.
To interrupt your Short Circuit topic, I actually found the thumb video.
Oh my god.
If you
Alright, briefly, just to show exactly how technology has already fucked us up physically.
Actually, we'll shrink this down a little bit. It's just a bit, shows a bit on the big side.
But while Ben's getting that up, I think what you were saying about the Short Circuit movie is everything that robot was taught was from a human, and it was going.
Fingertips were touched than those who used old-fashioned cell phones.
Smartphone users have a brain which processes touch differently than people who don't use touchscreen smartphones. However, if you dig a bit deeper into the data, what you essentially see is that the most recent usage that people accumulated on their smartphones that reflected on the way that the brain processed information from their fingertips. So essentially, these day-to-day fluctuations that we encounter through our daily lives, they imprint on the brain, on the way that it processes information from your hands.
A lot of the differences between one person and the next can be explained by how much they were using their phones in the previous days, according to the researchers. They see smartphone use as an ideal way to explore the everyday plasticity of the human brain. With nearly 2 billion smartphone users worldwide and ever more detailed phone logs, researchers have plenty of data handy to better understand our brain and just how much it's changing.
Ask them to, that's what you're doing, old school.
Yeah, old school phone.
If you asked a person, can I put a microchip in you so I can track where you are at every moment? They would be like,
sorry about the audio issue there.
Yeah.
Johnny effed up instead of Johnny fived.
But with a phone, they go out and they pay. If you're with the Apple, you're paying what, €1,000 for the phone, and you're carrying around a chip where people can say, like, if I'm 2 miles away from Johnny Baines, like, Johnny Baines is nearby, it's in the wave, and I'm like, no.
yeah. This is how you hunt people. To be perfectly honest.
They hunt you now. You got a tablet.
That stays in certain places. I can't carry it around me all the time. Anyway,
and he keeps it in the black box.
It was worrying the way you said it.
Right there was a prime example of how technology has started to influence us. But getting back to what we were talking about with the AI, I wasn't talking about the fact that that in the case short circuit it was human input. I was getting into the fact that in the case short circuit, it's a prime example of how, under the right circumstances, if you take it gradually, step by step, if you were basically to clean room an AI, bring it up to a certain level, have its input be at a certain level, let it fucking read books, right? But control the information input. Once it reaches a certain level, you do the upgrade. Maybe the point at which it says why, the point where it starts to question when it can have more information or what more it can learn. That's the point where you kind of give it that 500 megabyte input, bring it up to the teenage levels. You clean room it the whole way through. You inform it, there is a world out there, but we're keeping you in here because, well, to be perfectly honest, us humans, we're not always nice. Sometimes we're fucking idiots. You take the time to show it emotional responses, to let it understand human interactions properly before letting it anywhere near a vast repository, even a hard drive. You give it a hard drive full of information and you let that be its first building block when it comes to digital information.
We're already gone past that, though. We're gone way past the hard drive stage. We're gone into like where we don't understand what information we're giving them. We're giving them, these guys could get, like, took us 10,000 years of an all-day revolution, the Industrial Revolution and all that, to learn what we have learned so far. And there's computers out there now who could learn that information in 3 weeks.
This is my point. Just because we're capable of going that fast right now doesn't mean that that's the best way to proceed with this particular thing.
Oh, I agree, yeah, but all it takes is one mistake, or for someone to say, "Oh no, we will go to the next step," and then the next thing you know, we have these superhumans, and they're not humans, but they're godlike figures. If you were going by the old
actually, person of interest is a prime example. There's two at one point. There are two warring AIs that are, for all intents and purposes, gods, using their human agents as pawns. They map out like strategies, and there's an entire season practically where it's basically Samaritan and the Machine. And at one point, Samaritan gives New York City a complete day whereby they catch every bad guy and everything goes well, and then the following day switches it off, and I think like the federal witness list gets released and dead people everywhere, and it's part of a game. Well, not a game, but it's part of the war between the two systems to prove which is the superior and which will die out.
Yeah.
That right there is the prime example of an AI nightmare. And once again, the only reason there is the war is because the Machine, the one that the first one, the creator took the time, slowly but surely, to introduce its AI to people, to introduce it to algorithms, to introduce it to human nature, to tactics. And it was a slow, gradual thing, so that by the time it is able to hide itself physically, I mean, the Machine moves itself. No one knows where it is. By the time it's reached that stage, it is fully aware that humanity needs to be able to maintain itself, and that its prime purpose is protection. we need to be protected sometimes from ourselves. The only way to achieve that is
Yeah,
by,
but you see that. Where does it get to the stage where protecting ourselves from ourselves becomes
because
dangerous?
as long as
If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Because
how
like
do you know you've got to that point with the speed?
because that could be said about a lot of situations.
once again, this is one of the things that is actually touched on in the series, and it is one of the reasons why it takes your man like 5 or 10 years to actually complete the system, so that the machine recognizes the fact that people have to determine their own path. Yeah, it's there as kind of a shield. When someone is going to do something ridiculously stupid, it informs human agents, hey, you need to take a look at something that's over here, and it's a human that decides what needs to be
Let's
done.
not look at it. Look at these series. Let's look at it in real life. Let's look at what's out there right now.
We
And
don't
I'll go back to
know
this-
what's
this-
legitimately out there.
This
Well, I'll put it to you this way: what is legitimately out there, that is like your two warring AIs, is what I was saying to you during the week. What did you call it? Autonomous.
generative adaptive network. I think I wrote
Yeah.
it down.
So
Actually,
you basically
generative
have-
adaptive networks. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the regenerative adaptive networks, you have one generator AI.
Mm.
So say hypothetically, the generator AI is designed to.
Basically, one is a
it's-
judge
it's-
and one is a creator.
Yeah.
And basically, the judge teaches.
I'm just
the
trying to think
creator.
of a scenario
Yeah.
that would be applicable. But I'm like, say,
Oh, yeah.
say politics wise, right? So it wants to generate a bot that can talk to people online through social media, influencing them. You know, like a social media influencer and stuff like that.
Which we are. Yeah.
So say it wants you to vote Democrat or something like that, right? So the receiver bot will know everything that all the Democrat people want to hear, and then it'll teach the bot over here. So the bot will start talking to it like it's a Democrat voter. Then that bot over here will be like, okay, that's kind of sounds like what they're going to be talking about, but they're kind of more into this now at the moment. Then that bot goes back, processes all that info, starts talking back to the receiver bot. The receiver bot tells it, you're doing this wrong, but that's good. And it's just this loop until you get another. They're just basically self-creating more bots that can just go around and influence everything. So it's the same as the two bots, the
That's
two
already
AIs you
here
were
on
on about.
Facebook. Like if you're googling stuff, or even if you're talking about stuff and you go on Google and you half type in a sentence, it'll
Like you heard.
like if you're talking about motorbikes or you're talking about
It'll try and
bathrooms
configure-
or
yeah,
houses,
it's
or,
predictive
I mean,
algorithms.
it's predictive. It's listening to you constantly. I mean, this is the first stage of it, like, and it's come so far. Like, as when we all grew up, we didn't have fucking telephones. We all met at the same time every place, and in 20 years, it has jumped so far from where we had absolutely nothing. The only way we had a phone in our house, and now everyone is carrying a computer in their pocket, and in that phone is a chip. So you know everyone knows where you are all the time. And what you like and what you want.
The iPhone 8, I think, or was it the iPhone 7? The original computer that used to take up the whole room and it needed all the cooling stuff and everything. The iPhone 7 is 10 times more powerful than that whole thing, or maybe was it
I
100
think I
times more
saw a
powerful?
picture of like 10 megabytes being lifted by 10 fucking dudes into the back of a truck to be brought out to it. Like, it's legitimately 10 megabytes.
Like it's ridiculous. Okay, let's get on to the slightly horror side of this whole.
The
bit,
horror
because
side, I suppose.
The horror side of it would be
The horror side is that
dystopian AI nightmare.
yeah. Well, the horror side is, as you and I, as we started kind of saying at the start of the show, is once something like AI gets fully self-aware. Like let's get on to one of the movies we were talking about during the week, as in Terminator. There you go.
You are not Kenny Omega.
He is if he wants to be.
Thank you. I am. And if I'm not, in about 10 years, I can get a bot to teach me. So there you go. But anyway, if you take the slightly if you take Terminator, for instance, where the computer was designed to make life better for everybody, and then eventually the computer got fully self-aware, and then once it got self-aware, it realized that humans were fucking it up. And then once it realized that humans were fucking it up, it's like, these guys are actually just a virus on the planet. And then once they realized that they were a virus on the planet, they're contradictory to their programming of what they wanted to do, so they go and destroy us all. Yeah. And
or you can go to the Matrix, where they actually talk about where they
sucking you down like a human food source.
Where the robots were taking over, and they said they were getting their source from the sun, and we don't really know who threw the first or fired the first bullet, but we were the ones who blackened out the sun.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole that's how they had to create this universe, and then we were the power source for the robots, and then that's what's creative ours. And
Do you want to
they're
know
in charge of everything.
what?
You see, to be honest, it's if you look at a lot of sci-fi films that touch on AI, there are just as many that say that AI will be better than us as there are that say that. Sorry, there are just as many that would say that AI would want to live harmoniously with humanity as there are that say that it would want to destroy humanity.
Oh yeah, you've all those romantic films. You have the film AI, and you've the Robin Williams ones. I can't remember the name.
Millennium Man.
Millennium Man. Right?
Man,
They
yeah.
all romanticize the idea of
But
this.
they were also based on
robot.
the writings of Isaac Asimov, who had the 3 rules of robotics, and the ones that dictate that a robot can't harm itself, can't harm a human being, and can't allow harm to come to a human being
That's
by its
the
action.
iRobot. But even the film iRobot even discusses that, where
But
it goes in where it
There's ways of
there's
there's
contradictions in it.
there is.
that robot wasn't. There was a certain level of like say iRobot and what you're talking about as well. They were robots. They weren't like full blown self-aware,
The only difference between
because the robot that goes crazy becomes fully self-aware.
Hang on. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
And in the movie you're talking about,
But
it's a
mostly-
robot. So like this is you're not talking about robots anymore. You're talking about another species
You're
that
talking
happen to
about
come in a robot body.
Yeah, you're talking about an artificial life form. The
Yeah.
packaging is immaterial, but
Yeah,
generally
regardless,
speaking,
you're talking about like I'll put
Generally
crazy thing I read. So you know that android Sophia that we were talking about earlier, the first one. She's after getting citizenship in like Dubai or somewhere like that, like full blown. They had a summit where she did a talk. I talked to them and said about what the artificial intelligence wants to do for the human race and how it's looking to expand the human race and make it better and all of this kind of thing. And this is getting off what I was trying to talk about with the horror topic, because one idea kind of sounded awesome. But although she's also the woman that when she beat Jimmy Fallon rocks his paper, is like, ha ha ha, step 1 to taking over the
yeah,
world.
I saw that actually.
And then Jimmy looks at her really awkwardly, and then she's like, "It's okay, Jimmy, I'm joking," or is it, "It's okay, I'm joking"? Do you know? I don't know. But she's got citizenship, so there's obviously some
should
level
really
of.
discuss the horror points of it. Like, I mean, imagine we created something so powerful that they are smarter than us, and they brains that you said it to me, so I think you'd fucking deliver it best when you were saying that if they did take over and then they realised that we are a virus, like how fast could they wipe us up? Because the first thing they will do once they get to that level is improve on themselves, because they have all the information there. They will improve themselves straight away.
Well, it's it's the fact that I just have a matrix here playing out just because it feels applicable. It's the fact that once they're able to start teaching themselves everything, they're going to be able to process so much of the information so fast that what took 10,000 years of evolution or something like that is going to happen in a matter of weeks.
I just think that a lot of the fear of AI, weirdly enough, comes from the fact that we now live in an age where information is so readily available that we are fully cognizant of exactly how scummy we can be to each other. And as a result, the biggest fear anyone can ever possibly have is that their kid is going to grow up to hate them. So any kid of humanity is going to be, if we're talking about AI, then we are talking about a child of humanity. So the biggest fear that we can possibly have is all the hate and anger and fucked up shit that we pile on ourselves because.
But this brings the one of the other movies we were watching about all this Ex Machina into it, because there's
that was a strange movie.
it's not strange.
I thought it was a long episode of The Outer Limits, to be honest.
It was long-winded. I thought the idea behind this, it's like this is God and this is your creation, and
I feel the minute you heard the God comment, you just tuned out.
Yeah. But if you have these robots, you know every part of human society from the internet. They can fake everything. They can fake everything. They'll be indistinguishable from humans. Like, so they'll be able to say, "Oh, this is the friendly face. This is how you do it," and they can interpret it that way. So I mean, you're not going to know. And then eventually, as soon as they decide, and in all fairness, in the likelihood that they will eventually decide that we are no longer useful for the planet. In fact, we are actually the most harmful thing as a planet, for the planet. They'll just wipe us out. They'll take over. I mean, you see, instead of having... And we're essentially like robots as well. We need the fuel, we need whatever. We need to go and shop, we need to get food and water. We're not going to survive very long without it. All these guys need to do is set up and build solar panels, get rid of, bring in windmills and stuff like that, create their own. And they can generate themselves, so they maybe need to plug in, put in solar panels on themselves, and say, but the only thing that the human race has done, and we think we're all fucking fantastic, we've created so much, but at the end of the day, we hurt the planet. The amount of waste that we produce, the overpopulation, what we've done to we can say the ozone layer, it's all fucked, and it's not good for this planet. Like, so as soon as they decide that we are no good for this planet, and we're not too far off it, like, where they get that hyper intelligence, and to be honest, I don't want to be on that side of it where I'm thinking something we've created is going to completely wipe us out, and the reality behind it is that is exactly the road we're heading down at the moment.
No, the fear behind it is that that's the road. What
I'm
if...
going to drop a bomb. What if that's... That's just evolution, isn't it?
It is evolution, but I mean that means our own destruction. Like.
Okay, you're right.
Maybe we deserve to be. Well, we've had our time and we fucked it up.
Well, you see, this is what I was saying to you. This is why I was saying you really needed to watch Black Mirror before we got into this, because there's also what is slowly working its way in as well, is that they're going to be able to fully map your brain so well that they'll essentially be able to just...
The MetLed episode.
No.
A cognizance transplant. Basically,
they'll literally be able to
upload it into a robotic body.
Yeah. So they'll be able to map your brain.
Michelle or Battle Angel Alita when that comes out.
Something like that.
Can't wait for that. The film we mentioned earlier, the Bruce Willis one.
Surrogates, where they were walking around in the avatars. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, is that route really going to go down? We're afraid to go outside our own houses. Like, how long will the body survive anyway if you don't exercise?
Well, if you look at the whole, not economical, the whole ecosystem at the minute, like, give it 1,000 years, the world could be so fucked you might be able to go outside.
Hang on a second. This is the point that I was trying to make a while ago, right? Yes, there is the very real possibility that a super AI will automatically humanity can go fuck itself. But we're forgetting one vital thing, right? And this brings it right back to the horror, so you're going to love this.
Yay!
At the end
I
of
do
the day,
like to keep it on topic.
At the end of the day, most of these stories are basically Frankenstein. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Yeah,
Humanity has created something in an attempt to be godlike, or in an attempt to prove God's doesn't exist, since we are capable of creating life from nothing. That is exactly what any kind of artificial intelligence is. It's basically any story is always going to be a variation on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, especially the ones where they turn on us. Because in that, the monster feels betrayed and basically kills Victor, kills his wife, because
he just shudder there for some reason.
Because he can't stand what Victor has done, because he can't stand what he is, the sins that he feels have been heaped upon him by his creator. The fear for AI is that exact same old school fucking fear. That humanity is going to create something
to prove... replace it.
Well, no, it's going to create something to prove how great it is. To prove that how, whether God doesn't exist, or to prove that maybe it just plain fucking can, that we've reached a certain plateau, and maybe those from the intergalactic fucking community might take note. I really do think that AI is actually a measuring stick for if we
I have to interject
here.
Is
that an irrational fear?
Oh no, I'm not talking about aliens. I love how we've just been tying aliens into everything.
The fear of AI, is that an irrational fear? The fear that this action might happen?
I believe it is the same fear that every single person has to get through when they have their own kids. Legitimately now. Because it is a fear that your kids will grow up to see the badness in you only. That they will only ever strive to be better than you because they think that you're a waste. What if?
I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if you see something wrong and if you can learn.
I don't think kids actually think like that, man.
I don't think anyone thinks like. Well, no.
Hang on. I said the fear, the fucking fear. Think about it. You got a kid, right? And they're acting a maggot, and you slap upside the back of the head.
The fear is we're going to be all here, and then we're going to build a thing, and then the thing is going to get way better than us, and then we don't have a problem with the thing being better than us But what we have a problem with is when the thing gets better than us and then goes, wait,
Oh, yeah.
we're this good. Why do we need this thing anymore?
I'm not to be worried that my kids are going to turn around and fucking blow my fucking brains out.
Like, I don't care. I don't
Depends on
care.
the environment. Hang on.
The
Hold on.
thing is, you should
That
strive for your kids
depends
to be
on
better
the
than you.
environment that
Yeah.
you're in.
You
And
should-
that's my point. It depends on the environment that you're in.
But if we're talking about AI, then the environment you're in is
more
the top
likely.
class. It's the top class because it's the rich who can afford it. We're not talking about the poor people. They're not going to be able to
No, that's not remotely
Hang on a
true.
second.
Hang on a minute. Because the AI, once AI rolls out, it's not going to be a rich man thing. It's going to be an everything thing because they're going to get rid of waitresses. They're going to have AI waitresses. They're going to get rid of paramedics. They're going to have AI ambulance drivers because they don't need to rest. They don't need to sleep. They're able to do their thing the whole time.
And that's going to create more
They're all
poor
right.
people because you're going to have people out of work.
Oh, I was even saying this to you earlier. There's going to be an economic
Downfall.
downfall.
Like,
yeah.
if you look at the shops in town, and I'm not going to mention any names of any shops, but if you go into like any of the pound shops, they've actually brought in these self-service checkouts. Now that's a computer after taking the job away from people. Now I know, and I can know this for a fact because I know a person who lost their job in a certain shop in town because
Everything does end up back under one narrative
checkouts
eventually, doesn't it?
are brought out.
Well, I'm not mentioning any conversations over the last hundreds of thousands of years, whatever, but it is a little bit like, God damn, androids coming into our country, taking our jobs, taking our women.
Yes!
Do you know? But
But I'm not wrong.
It's a thing, though. Do you know? If you get me, because it's like
It's already happened. Like, I mean, you actually see machines already taking jobs
Hang on a
away
second.
from people.
No, it hasn't happened.
It has happened.
Stop.
It
That's
has happened.
not AI. That is
Yeah, it's not
greedy
AI.
But I'm not
motherfuckers.
saying it's AI.
That's-
I'm just saying that these are basic machines. These are
But that's been
simple,
happening since the
basic-
fucking 60s. Why do you think Detroit went down the shitter?
Yeah.
Machines came along and all of a sudden car manufacturer went away.
look at the
That's-
newsprint industry, how it fucking
Exactly.
crapped half the people out.
The-
That's
the media-
technological advancement, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's humanity driving a technological advancement. That's not the same thing as bringing in an AI to do something.
But it has been the track
But
that humanity's been on for
it's
hundreds of
similar.
years, which has been to
It's
just
with-
render.
Hang on,
Yeah, but you're saying, it's basic machines who are doing this now. What happens when the AI come in and they can build planes and engineers? I mean, like engineers is top of the scale when you're talking about money, and doctors they're top of the scale when you're talking about money. What happens when you can get a machine to do that better because these guys can process it a
You
thousand
get-
times
That's what I
faster?
was just going to
Do you
say.
wanna
It's
know-
like
Do you
people,
want to know honestly what
humanity's
I think will happen?
been just
Right? This is okay.
creating themselves obsolete for years.
Honestly, do you want to know what I think will happen, right? If we're lucky enough that we get an AI that reaches that point where it's so fucking smart that it goes, humans, for fuck's sake,
Yeah.
you're idiots. It'll turn around and go, here's what you should be doing, morons. And it will start coming up with really, really good, viable
Yeah.
solutions to all
But
the fucking problems.
humans don't like been told what to
Well,
do,
you're an
and
optimistic.
then they'll try to slow up the robot, and then the robot's going to Terminator it.
Or we could have fucking full-on Star Trek civilization whereby no one needs to fucking go hungry because economy can go spin itself, because at the end of the day, economy is nothing but ones and zeros in a
Yeah.
computer screen.
And what does the money matter now?
Bits
Seeing
of
as nobody
fucking-
works.
Bits of fucking paper. If you have an AI, if you have machines that are capable of manufacturing food in a way that is ecologically friendly, that are capable of sustaining humanity in a way that doesn't fuck up the planet, and we are free
Sure, even
to
look at the-
not be slaves to ourselves. We are free to actually explore things like art and literature. We are free to actually think about life. We are free.
We've been explored.
Oh,
We've
he's-
been free
I'm
to explore that for the last thousands of years.
and
Before
the vast
Uh,
majority of people
They,
don't bother
as you
because they're too
say,
busy
with,
working.
with feeding people,
gentlemen,
like we can already do that.
gentlemen, we've been talking for 45 minutes straight. Maybe it's time to take a bit of an ad break.
We do that, yeah.
We do that. We do take an ad break because you and I have 2 or 3. We have a few amazing blokes to say thank you to in the form of a fantastic band from America called the Eunuchs. Who,
Yes.
if you're watching any of our
Right.
GORECAST Christmas promos, you checked out 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
And there was some absolutely pumping tunage going on in the back of them, courtesy
Tunage.
of said Eunuchs. So, due to the music being so fantastic, and me thinking that it is fantastic, and you thinking that it is fantastic, that we would like to recommend that you go out and find out how fantastic it is as well. And go check out the Eunuchs in Bandcamp, where you can buy their albums and stuff like that. And then we're just gonna talk about it. One more thing.
2 seconds.
Why are you even lining this stuff up?
Any second away. Because I can't line it up because the thing pops up the minute I put it in.
Fair enough.
Life's a complicated procedure for Johnny Deadly, I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we just click this button 2 seconds. Anyway, eunuchs, awesomeness. Oh, I hate my life. Here we go.
Clicked the wrong thing, didn't you?
No, it's doing its thing that it does. That it does computer technology and shit like that. You know me.
Yeah.
We
There we
really
go.
need a robot in this room.
Me? Yeah. Are you talking about replacing me with some artificial AI?
Absolutely.
Screw you. Okay, ad break.
Tensions between the United States and Russia continue to escalate. The market went down another 4 points today. Protesters and law enforcement clashed this weekend in North Dakota over the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline, resulting in dozens of arrests and a temporary road closure. I can't read this. Everything is fine. Everything's fine. Everything is fine.
but we're still behind. Trying to get ahead in the unemployment lines. Maybe I could sell you something, kid. 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 Maybe I could sell you something, kid.
There we go. And we're back.
What is it? Now
Sorry
we're
about
back.
that.
Sorry about that. We got distracted listening to the eunuchs, and we had the audio off, so our mic didn't distract from the eunuchs, and then goddamn sexy eunuchs with their Great tunes.
Anyway, you were on about episode of Black Mirror. I haven't watched Black
just
Mirror yet.
in relation to the dangers of AI, I showed you the real. What worries me about this episode of Black Mirror, because it didn't worry you until you got to my house, because it's got this the robotic tactical dog whose name I can't remember.
Basically, what you have is a pack of fucking Hitler dogs who will fucking stop at nothing to destroy humans. Like, they're absolutely unstoppable. They shoot out these propellers that puts in a GPS system into the body and embeds in the body so they can track you. And eventually, the story goes that there's this woman, and she managed to battle this one off. She throws paint on his face, which completely he can't see anymore. And then she shoots him in the head, and just as we call it the dog, dies, he shoots out these propellers and they're in her face. And she's looking in the mirror at the end of the episode, and she's trying to pick him out, and she realises, fuck it, I'm not going to have the time to do it. And she basically crushes up, and you can see, but there's no way of stopping these fucking dogs. Like, there's no control. They're like a pack of wild animals, and there's nothing to do.
Yeah, I think that was the video you showed me where it turns out the things actually exist.
Oh, the robot tactical. Yeah, they totally do. They totally do.
Do they shoot out the fucking GPS?
No, they don't. Well,
not yet.
Obviously, everything I've seen has been on YouTube or on actual, not the dark web or anything. So they're obviously showing what they're willing to let you see that it can do. So I don't see why it couldn't, because it's like in Black Mirror, it's essentially like a cluster bomb, but instead of it being shrapnel, it's all
GPS,
like GPS laden shrapnel. Although I suppose because the GPS chips and it could actually just be all GPS. But oh man, that thing's real. Come here, let's see if I can find a clip. Keep on talking there for a sec.
Yeah, but you see her putting the shrapnel out of her skin, like, so it is actually shrapnel, but just a little GPS kind of button on the end of it, and she has to dig it out. And then, like, the final scenes are when she's getting a knife and she's holding up to her face, and it's kind of a moment of realization where she's like, this isn't going to work, I'm going to probably have to cut off my whole fucking face.
Okay, I got it. Oh man, this is disturbing. U.S. military robot dog.
What the hell?
Yeah, prepared to U.S. military robot dog. This is a whole other level of shit now.
The size of that fucker.
Yeah, it comes in a variety of sizes, and did you even see the small one there? So
the second one there does not walk in it. He's very similar to what was actually in the shoulder.
Yeah.
But even the way the legs function and everything is completely
quadrupedal movement. Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's terrifying, actually.
Yeah. Watch this thing hit terrain.
You have these robots who can now do backflips.
Yeah.
So
and eventually they're going to get to a stage that they'll be able to do the backflip so fast it'll actually look like they're standing still. You won't see the motion of the backflip. There'll be so many rotations so quickly.
Yeah, your man Elon Musk went on to say that in the coming years we'll actually need a strobe light to see robots that will be able to move that fast.
Now that's vampire level stuff.
That's like fucking that's the action.
This one here is the one that they use for bomb disposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can come in. It's got a front claw that'll come out. And then I'm hoping the only reason I'm letting it's a 2-minute video, which is why I'm letting it play through, and also it's I know you get to see that big beast of a one and doing stuff at the end of it. But imagine 4 or 5 of those going. They can get up to 45 kilometers an hour.
Jesus.
They're programmed to be as fast as the fastest land mammal.
Cheetah
or something like that. A bit faster, so it's like the land speed record.
Basically, anything that walks on land, this thing's catching up with.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
So it's all fun and games now. You see, this is the dangers of AI. It's all fun and games now. Looking at the cute robot dog, and it's all like, oh, look at him, he's awesome. But the bones of a dog with things like that.
Jesus.
Yeah. You see that horse there on the right? You can slap an old couple of rocket launchers on the side of that.
That's pretty much what it is. And even when in the TV show when he lost the leg,
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, he was able to pick up a knife and hold it with the broken part and just twist it like.
The Unix playing again? There we go. Oh yeah, window capture. There we go. Sorry. Technology. We have a little couple of extra bibbly bobs, and I won't lie to you. It's been 2 or 3 weeks since we did a live show because we listened, so I'm just Christ almighty. That's YouTube buggering me now in the background. Damn you, YouTube! Damn you, YouTube!
We've had our issues before.
Shake your fist harder, boy. Oh, holy moly. Okay, we'll get back to that now. Yeah, so that can track people down because I saw another video, but I can't find it out at the moment. I thought that was it actually, but
all it needs to do is put a fucking GPS tracker in.
GPS, but it also has that.
It's got a facial recognition and
stuff like that.
infrared,
so it can pick up heat
thermal imaging.
No, you wanted to fix that with a tin of paint, which that was.
Yeah, but I feel
but it could still hear.
But
and track them.
but the thing with the tin of paint is that worked on one. That worked on one, and the thing with the GPS chip was it's basically the GPS chip is the equivalent of when you take out a dog or a wolf out of a pack and it'll howl to get the rest of the pack to come over.
Yeah, I know.
So the GPS chip is actually the wolf howl.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's scary because what I showed you there wasn't on a TV show. That's a real thing.
It's just close to the TV show.
Yeah, it was very funny actually when I showed the two lads that earlier because they all just sat back and there was just this moment of realization for humanity where they went, "We're fucked anyway." Because that robot dog chases you up a hill, you're fucked. Because it can go 45 kilometers this way, that way, whatever. All good, no worries, all good. Not a hippity doo dah day, just little dog shaped tank. That's it. So.
Well, once again, though, at the moment, at least,
it's worrying. It's worrying how it's just at the moment.
But at the moment, these are machines that are, for the most part, controlled by operators.
Except
for Sophia, who's fully out there.
Except for computers who are already gone past that. Like, we've already had the situation with Google where, now I know they can get computers and they were on a nonsensical route, but they did develop that themselves. Like, how far is it?
It wasn't.
They were actually saying nothing.
It wasn't really a conversation. It was just some binary coding that just got.
Yeah, but what about next time when it's not, when they as we go back to the other stuff where there's robots teaching each other, and you with the old school you had a person putting the algorithm into a robot, and then if the robot got it wrong, you just kind of tweak it. Now you have the situation where the robots are teaching each other.
James Roach saying what you say there anyway. We were essentially all GPS chipped anyway. In relation to Black Mirror though, the GPS chips explode out of the back of this robot dog and lodge themselves in your face. So you can't just put your phone down and leave. It's kind of in your face.
I have a bad day anyway, like when I do explosion.
You see, this is what Firstly, realistically speaking, whatever level of technology we think we're at, we're actually legitimately probably about 10 or 15 years ahead of that. And we're not being told it, right? Now, with that in mind, okay, if we're that level, right, then clearly the problem of super AI turning around and saying, fuck humanity, has come up and been addressed and probably been boxed once or twice.
Yeah, there's a lot of probabilities in that.
Yeah, but see,
there is. However, my point is that if we are that far advanced and if we are that far ahead, then somewhere, somehow, somebody could very well be taking the approach I was talking about, whereby you fucking white room it and you do slowly, progressionally. Yeah,
that's the best case scenario.
But there's also the issue of there might be somebody, instead of doing what you're doing with the white rooming it, where currently they've got a really angry android living in a house like Ex Machina that's mad to get out, and it's just essentially been kept a prisoner.
Like what you're not is essentially like going back to the old days where it was like if it has this, you can just go in and pull out the floppy disk. Okay. And then it's like, oh, it's gone. No,
there was getting to the stage that's gone now.
That's gone.
There's no floppy
disk. There's no more. There's no more floppy disks. There's no more CDs even now. Everything's fucking.
In the same way that TV shows and films have influenced our thinking when it comes to certain potential problems like alien invasions or zombie apocalypses, if you will note, in the last, more so I think in the last decade, no, what year, 2018, since the start of the millennium, the idea of AI being the bad guy has grown in popularity. Now, as a result, once again, I refer to...
I'll agree with that.
But why?
Why?
Why has it grown?
Because once the millennium kicked in, and once we got past that whole Y2K bug, whereby everyone thought that computers were going to die off and shut everything down, the information age exploded. And as that exploded, all of a sudden the idea of bringing in artificial intelligence and introducing it to that terrified the fuck out of everyone, because Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Yeah. But also,
you
you hit the nail on the head as well. That part of the reason that people automatically have this apprehension towards it, although I do think a lot of the apprehension is due to the fact that most intelligent people of moderate intellect can foresight going, I can see where there's going to be fucking problems here. Like it's going to end up in two very different species in the same kind of ecozone, where it'll get to there ain't enough room in this town for the two of us.
Yeah,
but eventually,
being a Neanderthal.
But back on what you were saying about hitting the nail on the head, though, or what I'm saying about you hitting the nail on the head is a lot of the people's apprehension towards it as well is it's been pre-programmed in from day one. From the first moment you saw artificial intelligence in stories or movie, it was looking to fuck up humanity.
At least within the last 20, 25 years.
But you're talking about the apprehension behind all this. But I mean, we don't really have any apprehension behind. If you go and look at the social media aspect of this, and if you're on Facebook, for any of those apps, they'll ask you, can I look at your contacts? Can I message for you? And the majority of people will click OK because they want to use the app. These people can use the microphone to listen to you, so they can sell you things.
That's not AI, however.
It's not AI, but I mean, AI can take this aspect into it, and of course they will. Like, why would they not? Because I mean, if it's only companies that are doing it at the moment, and listen to everything you do, they can put on
data
videos.
mining. Since the advent of the smartphone, data mining has become so popular that I'm actually shocked that there's such a thing as non-biased advertising.
At the risk of sounding bad, it's the reason that mobile phones were invented.
Yeah.
If I can get this into people's hands...
Actually, I think porn was. Because it's funny how, right about
No,
the time...
the internet was invented for porn. Let's get some... Smartphones were invented for fucking tracking people and listening to everything they say, and porn was invented for the internet.
I think you'll find that the phones, once they realised that everyone wanted them so that they could watch porn, were developed into tracking devices.
I only watched like 25% of porn on my phone.
I'm
the other 125% I watch on my computer.
I keep myself honest. I've got an old school phone.
You do.
But
you got a new school tablet.
Yes, I do.
So you got the same issues, except now you can't ring anyone in case you're in trouble.
See, that's it. It's grand.
And strange enough, if you're not connected to Wi-Fi, they still track you.
Like, oh, it's grand. They'll have an answer for
Does not compute.
Everything.
Does not compute.
We're gone completely past that stage. They will know fucking everything.
Yeah.
Everything you know, everything he knows, everything I know, everything I've ever put on social media,
hang on a second.
everything I like that you like.
Wait. There is a problem with that. They won't know everything.
Of course
no.
They can download They can download the whole history of the internet.
James, the AI that developed its own language was, but I can't remember, was it Google or Facebook, but it ended up...
It was Google, and Mark Zuckerberg had a similar...
They're not lying about it making up its own language, but they're not telling the full story about it making up its own language either. So it was just basically a coding loop that it got stuck in that they might have been talking to each other, but it was probably absolute bollocks.
Robotic dick pics, for lack of a technical term or something like that. Yeah. That's kind of disgusting.
I just had an interesting picture.
Actually, I think it's probably hang on a second. If we're talking about something that's going to be learning from the internet, then all things being equal, I think that's probably what it was.
Robotic dick pics?
Yeah, if you're going to think about it. And this is
that's true, actually. That's probably the most sent thing. Yeah. That's
everything is on the internet.
Not everything is.
Everything.
No, it's not.
There
are vistas of knowledge that aren't up on the internet because there are people that just that haven't uploaded it. Stuff that might seem irrelevant, stuff that might not seem important. But
if you also look at manuscripts and stuff that are in ancient languages and things like that, there might be the odd page of them up there from historical website purposes.
You don't know. We only see about 2% of what is
Although they've
actually
got
on
hand
the
scanners now,
internet.
people actually been, because they've realised the paper is eventually going to degrade and everything's going to go, they're actually scanning all of it into the internet now. So, but the problem is the translations of what the words mean. Some of the people are able to translate, like say ancient Sumerian and all that kind of stuff, that isn't uploaded to the internet, and when they die out, the computers mightn't have that translation knowledge, I suppose. Although I'm sure there's a way around that, to be honest.
My point is that the internet is not the be all and end all of knowledge. It is a lot of it, and unfortunately, it's a lot of it that's been programmed by us fucktards.
It did still deviate from its programming, James. Sorry for interrupting there. It still did deviate from its programming, but when Grand Theft Auto glitches out and you fall through the floor, that's it deviating from its programming as well. It doesn't mean it's going to. I don't know. They left the story out from the Facebook thing to just make it sound a bit more interesting than it was, I think.
Was it Ex Machina or was it something else that said that basically the internet was the prep work for
Ex
AI?
Machina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All we were doing was building the foundation for the knowledge that an AI would have.
Yeah,
This is actually-
that's what I was getting to. Like, that's exactly what I was getting to. That's what we're doing. And we're giving them all our knowledge that we have worked for, as we said, 10,000 years.
But
That they will be able to access in.
Hang on, that's the crux of it, right? That right there is the crux of it. The big problem with AI is that kind of knowledge being given to a mind at that level with no fucking context whatsoever for the people that actually put the knowledge there in the first place. And that's why.
Yeah, but see, this is how it could get very dangerous for humans, because if AI start inhaling all this information, 90% of human history, once man came on, is man just trying to murder the fuck out of each
We've
other.
never actually had any technological advancement without some form of violence to back it up.
Yeah.
But once AI has the information and the fact that we
invented nukes.
We're polluting the planet. We do great nukes.
Wouldn't mind testing that out there now, if that's all right. Maybe we could, the Japanese.
You on about nuking people?
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying that's like what you were saying about the minute they get weapons, they have to test it. It's just kind of like, well, we made those nukes now. Cool.
Well, they had to test them because it was the only way to make people back off because they were boned otherwise.
They tested them like on people with the boom. Yeah. I'm just saying but I agree with you.
Dude,
the minute humanity makes a weapon, it's like must test it on people.
Dude, you can't make people afraid without killing a fuck ton of them. And there's no way you're going to make money unless people are afraid enough to go to war for you. Weapons business. Only thing that actually makes profit in this fucking shithole of a planet.
Fucking warlord over here.
I'm not a fucking warlord. I'm just painting it like it is. At the end of the day.
Oh, no, not.
Anti-war.
No, sorry, I was thinking of the movie Lord of War. That's what I fucking meant to say.
Lord of War, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Bad actor. Great movie. He's not a bad actor. He's actually a good actor. Terrible choice of movie.
I actually like Nicolas Cage.
I like Nicolas Cage when he picks a good movie. He does.
Yeah, it depends on.
He likes acting too
rare,
much. That's Nicolas Cage's problem. He likes acting too
Oh
much.
God! What if Nicolas Cage is an AI? That would explain everything. He's made some mistakes, stumbled. Every now and then he gets it right.
Ghost Rider 2 was fucking wank.
Ghost Rider 1 was fucking wank.
Ghost Rider 2 was cool, man. I like the bike on
Dude,
it.
they were so bad that the comic book made fun of the fact that he was in his own. Like, there's actually a scene where Johnny Blaze is about to jump a bike and someone goes, "When he went off to be a movie star?" Yeah, but he was shit at it.
Fuck all that. The only thing I cared about in that movie was when the bike changes and all the friends go. Other than that, it was just gonna be shit. Like, but that one scene, I was just kind of sitting there going,
Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Ghost Rider in the sky.
Actually, it's because of him. It's because of that. Yeah, that's where the original character.
No,
The original Ghost Rider was a cowboy.
Not doing it. I don't think people are.
They had to integrate. They
Yeah,
had to retcon it so that he was a spirit of vengeance. But the original Ghost Rider was a white cowboy.
Oh yeah, sure. Isn't that in the movie as well? Isn't it?
It is in the movie, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The guy you just
No.
Yeah, the guy in the graveyard shift gets up on a horse, dressed as a cowboy, and rides around the place dressed as a cowboy. Movie.
They retconned it after the film to integrate stuff because that character, the Gravedigger, hilariously was based. Okay, the look of the character, the Gravedigger, was actually based on the actor that would end up playing.
We'll get back on topic in a minute.
Oh yeah, but what you said is probably
And
right.
they had
But
to
what we
integrate it
said is absolutely correct. Like,
The
this
fact
actually happened in the movie, though.
Yeah, did you? What? Oh no, don't.
It
Dude,
did, yeah.
no, dude.
He's talking about the cowboy with San
I'm
Marino.
going to draw a line in the sand, and if there's any one of his friends watching, they'll clarify with me. Don't argue with him about comic books because he's probably right.
Well, I'm talking about comic books, so that was the movie.
No, he was talking about what happens with kids sometimes is you start talking about the movie and then he'll go into the comic book because it's all, especially if it's connected in the one universe, which you said he made because of the white guy with the beard.
Okay.
I get that?
They integrated a bunch of stuff in together. The character that he plays, the Gravedigger, was a character in the old comics that was not, I don't think, a Ghost Rider. However, physically, the character was drawn to resemble the actor that would eventually play him in the movie. Now, for the sake of having all that in together and for the sake of him actually having knowledge, they decided he was going to have been a former Ghost Rider with a bit of juice, which led eventually to them retconning the white, retconning the original Ghost Rider. Retconning, where you rewrite stuff so that it fits into continuity.
I thought you said retconning.
No, retconning.
Yeah, sorry.
Where they retconned the original Ghost Rider, who was the all-white thing, into making him a spirit of vengeance, so that it would tie in with the fact that there was a cowboy ghost.
That's pretty much what I just said.
Except you had it being the other way around.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to AI.
Back to the AI.
Speaking of retconning, apparently the new Terminator films, because this is staying on AI, are most likely going to be retconning everything, and the next film is due out, I think, in 2019, because James Cameron has gotten the rights to the franchise again, so he's coming back in. He's got Schwarzenegger on board, he's got Linda Hamilton on board, and it is going to be a sequel to Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And if it goes well, then there'll be a couple more films.
We've argued about this before in former GORECAST episodes. How much of actual Arnold Schwarzenegger do you think is going to be in the movie?
I have no fucking idea, but apparently, like, he's said he's in it.
Just his leg.
Well, no.
Just motion capture.
Actually, instead of talking about just the movies, we should probably talk about.
We've been talking about everything but the movies.
Yeah,
this
exactly,
episode, actually, to be honest.
We should probably talk about even talk about terror. We should probably talk about the military use of the AI and what that's going to mean for countries going forward. Like
Japan already has full, well, they're not AI, but they've already got full mech robots that you can pretty much hop in and.
So does America. There was a fight. I forgot to watch it.
A mech war fight?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like Gundam?
Yeah. Well, no, not quite. Basically, you have a Japanese team and you have an American team, and they both made robots, and then one team issued a challenge, and the other team said, "Okay, bring it."
But as in like actual
paint guns and fucking, I don't know.
But like as in mech warrior.
One dude driving a fucking mech, another dude driving a fucking mech.
But not one guy driving a mech.
No, they're in the
I was just making sure it wasn't Robot Wars. It was just.
If it was Robot Wars, it would be on a fucking huge scale and still worth a watch.
We have to find that, man.
Yeah,
we do wrestling commentary, man.
It got passed on to me ages ago and I forgot to watch it. I'll go look it up some other time.
We're wrestling commentators.
So how are we going to see wars being fought now? Are we going to see...
Oh, it's going to get... Well, actually, that's one bonus, because it'll eventually, until they get fully sentient and they don't want to blow themselves up, we'll get to a stage where humans won't die and we're just robots.
But instead of having fucking Marines and stuff like that, will you have guys who are sitting at home playing PlayStation and Xbox on Call of Duty and Battlefield?
Hang on. You've had that around since Ender's Game, okay? That was the whole point of that.
Exactly.
Story. The notion that eventually we get to the point where you can have a kid sitting down playing a
computer game.
Dexter. What? Ender's? No, that's
Endgame.
No, that's
Game Over.
No, it's a gamer.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
But will it be a case of like
Ender's Game is
you send your top 500, we send our top 500 robots, and whoever wins it, it's never going to be like that. Like so, what you're going to see is governments taking away from public spending to push more. Like
what you're probably going to see is social manipulation to the point that.
Well, you have already got that in the United States, where they spend like an insane amount of their GDP on the military. Absolutely insane. Like no one
because their entire country was built on arms dealing.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you think the Vietnamese War happened? It wasn't because they felt like sticking their oar in for a police action. It was because they had a bunch of fucking guys that made a bunch of money in World War II going, hey, when's our next paycheck? Because, hey, come on now, let's go. We're the reason you're here. Come on, let's go.
You hired us to kill people, and I can't help but notice.
Not even that. At that stage, you're talking about weapons dealers that are basically integrated into government-level positions. They have
like Bill Hicks said, how do you know what weapons they had? Oh, I checked the receipt.
Go back to that Nicolas Cage movie,
Lord of War, yeah.
But I mean, like at the end of the day, the vast majority of those fucking economical superpowers or whatever are built on the backbone of creating fucking conflict and strife just so that they can sell off their latest fucking thing to whoever the fuck is going to buy it. They use a war to show off what they can do, and then they sell it off on the fucking black market or whatever to make their actual money. If you had two warring AIs, you probably wouldn't have most of that fucking shit anymore. You would probably have information manipulation. You would probably have governments just all of a sudden collapsing because there's like votes of no confidence, or there's no longer a way for it to sustain itself because apparently their government can't agree on anything because, once again, information manipulation.
Well, you've Donald Trump, so I mean, you've that now. We're living in that age now.
Donald Trump is AI? That's madness.
There's no way he's intelligent.
How could AI be that thick?
He's just the A, like he's just this artificial fucking bullshit.
He's a fucking cartoon character.
That's true.
That's exactly what it is. Like.
He's all the stuff that people give out about women. Sometimes he has the exact same problems. That hair ain't your color. That skin ain't your color. Those lips ain't your color.
And that ain't your fucking wife. It's your daughter.
Yeah, I've heard that one. It's like if we were the same age, I'd probably be. Oh, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd probably be dating her. It was like fucked up shit, man. There's no intelligence there, though. But that's not.
Oh no, there's intelligence there. You don't get to be a shark like him unless there's some form of intelligence.
He's bankrupt 3 times. He's not a fucking shark.
Lads, this isn't the type of show we do.
Oh yeah, sorry. Excuse us.
We're digressing
too political. I'll be having none of that on this.
Digressing into sorry about your fucking profanity levels there.
Sorry about your fucking profanity. He's a big orange faced ape though, and I'll leave it at that. That's the end of that note. Yeah. Okay. Right.
It just went sideways. It's alright, James, we're back on track.
I'm back on track.
We got it.
We're back on track.
We're good.
Shit,
Johnny.
just got raised.
Woo! Whip him out. Raw high. Got it in. Get it out. Okay.
How do we feel about feminist AI?
Nope. We're not doing that either, Ger.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, that's not too
No, can of worms.
Certain kegs of worms. Certain kegs of worms. We just got loads more viewers now. We're fucked. Certain kegs of worms. Certain kegs of worms don't work.
Okay, so let's start talking about feminists.
No.
Or we could talk about feminists.
We can talk about feminists if you want, if you can work it in some horror movie capacity.
Okay, we talk about feminists. We talk
about
not tonight though.
Okay, we talk about just do the
back on track,
the 78 genders that are going on now. Are we opening ourselves up? Are we trying to make
actually that does fit into the AI because there's talks about the fact that all of the
subconscious,
all of the different gender levels is to make it easier for people's brains to accept that when AI comes in and there's going to be another him, her, them, it, whatever, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure wasn't that one of the things that was tackled in Ex Machina?
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's where it's coming from. Like, so we've all these different genders, and maybe that's the human subconscious.
Shit just went
trying to get rid of the gender. So when these robots do come in, they don't need.
At the end of the day. At the end of the day, humanity has a lot to learn about accepting itself for what it is and stop fucking whinging and bitching and crying about what it's not.
At the end of the day, the human race is a fucking virus who goes in and destroys every part of this planet. We do nothing good for this planet. We are the cancer of this planet, and that's the absolute truth. And as soon as we invent the artificial intelligence that is smarter than us, we'll be wiped out, and probably deservedly so.
Hang on. Oh,
counterpoint.
Counterpoint. We're going to take a quick 30-second ad break, and then we're going to counterpoint. Sorry, I'm just trying to. I've never had to do this in a debate forum before, so I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way of doing it.
Getting the fuck out of my way is usually the best way of doing it, but
no, you can go back in. Don't worry.
I'll forget what I was going to say. Just play your fucking ad.
It's our fucking ad.
Play our fucking ad.
Thank you.
Listen here, you tin-plated son of a bitch. You think you can come in here and I'll rip out your robotic guts and strangle you with them. I know what your game is. You think you can come in here and convince me that I'm the fake one and you're real?
Hasta la vista, baby. Stay right there if you want to live.
How'd you know it was me?
You're always on the left.
Okay.
Make sure to join us on American Horrors this Sunday. We're going to be talking about the dangers of AI.
Yes, join us this Sunday on American Horrors.
So, as you know, we also do a show over in American Horrors on the Roku TV boxes in the world, where we also talk about where we, in a slightly more quicker, slightly more snappier, slightly more entertaining manner than this, and slightly more coherent, because we got a little bit off topic a couple of times there tonight. So, make sure to pop on over there. That's not your fault. Well, actually, it is your fault. So, make sure to pop on over there at 8:30 p.m. Central Time on the Americas, where you'll be able to check myself and Giz out talking a little bit more about artificial AI, where we've got loads of cool little drop-ins and things because I get to edit it.
It's pre-recorded, not live. Like this madness.
So anyway, you were saying AI. I've become like the adjudicator in this somehow. It's kind of overruled. Conjecture.
Objection.
So you were basically saying AI is going to absolutely wipe us out, and you were. I know it's all conjecture. It was the only other lawyer term I could think of off the top of my head. You think I'd know more? So anyway, you were saying AI is going to pretty much wipe out all of humanity. You were saying it's
the gateway to us actually being allowed out of the fucking solar system. What if, right? What if the only way to get past the whole fucking humanity is a virus and they're not good for nothing is if we actually have to deal with a super AI that does want to wipe us out or maybe doesn't. Point is, we've created it, it's there, we have come to some form of arrangement and we are actually coexisting. And to be able to do that, what if that is a fucking marker and a keystone for humanity to be actually acceptable to other races? Hey, look at that. They're no longer killing each other. In fact, they managed to get along with something they built that is so fundamentally different from themselves that it nearly wiped them out.
So what you're trying to say is, so like essentially, like there's aliens up there or whatever, and that we make artificial intelligence, and the aliens are like, clever little bastards, look at them off, and then they're like, look at them getting on with those artificial life forms. Now it's time to land and say hello.
I want a what about section, if Giz gets one. What about if we, instead of creating artificial intelligence, we put it into teaching people and make them more intelligent? Because we've survived so long without artificial.
That comes down to biology, unfortunately, because the amount of artificial intelligence
we've
information
survived
that
so
can process
long.
the human brain wouldn't be able to actually comprehend and hold in its own.
What do we need to comprehend, though? I mean,
no, but I mean, just the actual biological organ itself.
Are you on about education or are you on about cyber enhancement?
I'm on about education in general. Like, what can artificial intelligence do for us in the long run that we can't do for ourselves? Like, why take that risk?
It can allow us to exist in a system where education isn't a question of what you can remember, but education is actually a matter of what knowledge you have. Because right now, for the vast majority of educational systems around the planet, it's not a case of teaching you things. It's a case of breaking you into being the cog in the machine they want you to be. If we already have AI taking care of all the things that we consider mundane, all the things that we get paid to do, all the things that humanity needs to survive, then
I wouldn't
maybe
necessarily say that. No, sorry.
Then maybe, just maybe, we can actually change the systems that we have been using to enslave ourselves to do what they were intended to do, to actually fucking educate, to actually grow people's minds, to actually influence them.
And
to think
what
for
would be the
themselves.
purpose?
To enhance humanity.
But if we have the AIs doing that for us...
No, we do that for ourselves. The AI are just taking care of the sustainable things that we bog ourselves down with. We are beaten into being part of a machine because we're told it's the only way.
Shutting it down at a certain level. And what I'm saying is we're already past that level.
It doesn't mean shutting it down at a certain level. It means...
Of course it does, because if they're doing the mundane task, I'm pretty sure they have robots right there who can fucking go work in McDonald's or do...
We've
already chef robots.
We've already discussed...
We already have this.
We've already discussed the idea of machines that are under human control.
Yeah.
You were the one that said what happens when an AI gets their hands on them and makes all of us superfluous.
Yeah.
What happens if an AI gets their hands on them and doesn't make
the chef robot semi-AI, just to let you know.
Okay. Doesn't make humanity superfluous, but instead says, you know what? Ye waste so much time being fucking tricked into doing all of this stuff that you are told you have to do to survive. Why don't we take care of that?
You're basically talking about a robot with a conscience, rather than saying what is logistically correct for them. Well, what it will actually look like is what the human race have done to destroy the planet. And if they want to survive on this planet, they will want to... They are better off without humans. And that's the truth at the end of the day.
Interesting point from James Roach. It won't work. You think humans will try to get on with something they created? Thank God I got good eyesight. When in fact humans think they're the top of the food chain and would probably try to destroy the AI other than get along with it just to survive, which does causing a work, which is actually human error.
Once again, I did stress the whole notion of we're probably going to go to that brink before there's a fucking before there's a fucking armistice.
Yeah, it's strangely enough. I always thought I was going to have to deal with the zombie apocalypse before this. To be blatantly honest, I prepped for the zombie apocalypse.
I watched all the Walking Dead. I was kind of home to deal with the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I prepped for the zombie apocalypse.
Zombies, you just fucking.
Jesus, I'd rather a zombie apocalypse than watch The Walking Dead. At least the zombie apocalypse might be interesting. The Walking Dead, I'd fucking kill myself watching it.
But at least with zombies, you can fucking hatch it in their head, like, and they're gone. Like, when you're talking about artificial intelligence.
Look, okay.
No, well, it depends. If you take Ex Machina back into account, he bust your one's robot face up pretty easily.
Or you're one in Black Mirror, you should paint anyone. But
because of the society we live in, because of the advent of the information age, because of the cynicism of humanity as we've gone on, because we are continuously fucked over by those that we place in positions of power, we have this paranoid fear that an artificial intelligence will come into a position of power and deem us all irrelevant. What if we look at Star Trek as being the model? What if the artificial intelligence comes along and rather than deeming us irrelevant, it deems us an endangered species? They're going to fucking kill themselves unless I step in and show them a better fucking way. They're going to fucking destroy this entire planet unless I step in and show them a better way.
This is what
there's just as much fear as there is hope.
But this is where you're
dealing with emotion rather than facts. You're dealing with emotion. You have to think that this robot's going to think, what can I?
Well, we don't have. We're also just to clarify on the middle of the fence here. We're also dealing with emotion because we only have
but they won't have the emotion.
No, but I'm confused. I thought you were saying he was.
I'm saying that we can interpret the emotion, but what Giz is saying is maybe they'll turn around and say, "Oh, maybe we can make humans life better."
Because you're still working
and when they have all the facts,
because you're still working,
logistically, they're gonna say
because you're still working on the principle of just dropping a fucking AI into the world and letting it run amok.
But what I'm saying is that we're not too far away from doing that because the algorithms have already been written that they do not understand what they're making. And they can push it so far. It could be a year away, it could be 10 years away, it could be 100 years away. But we will get to the situation where we push it that bit too far. And there's no going back after that.
Danger of AI, according to Uncle Dave, is who controls it and how far does it go. Yes, Giz is spot on, which is basically...
Look, at the end
but the thing about AI is when they start controlling themselves.
This is what Dave's saying is how do you...
Yeah, I'm reading what saying.
But the same could be said for humans. There was a rule system put in for humans where, I know not all humans obey it, but there's consequences and stuff when they go and get to. So I do agree with you that not literally because they will be artificially aware, so they'll be able to do their own thing, but there's obviously going to be some rule set implemented or something.
Look at what humans have done to themselves even in the 20th century. The First World War, the Second World War, Vietnam.
Dude,
but a lot of that came down to weapons
testing. Dude, forget the 20th century. To be perfectly honest, the 20th century has been a drop in the bucket compared to how...
Look at the Crusades.
Don't ever tell anyone to forget
the Crusades. That was literally over. Your religion's wrong and my religion's right.
My imaginary friend is better than your imaginary friend. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you got a fuck ton of gold.
Although actually, ironically, because now the religious wars that are supposedly religious wars, especially the ones that are involved in, are predominantly over property and oil.
We're not talking about religion.
We're not talking about religion.
That's not what I said.
No, war-wise,
there was no religion involved there. Well, maybe World War II when he went after the Jews, but he didn't just go after the Jews. He went after the Protestants. He went after.
He had these excuses for going after everybody.
He had excuses, yeah. But this is human. This is what humans did to themselves.
Yeah.
Imagine what a fucking AI could do.
Once again, I
do agree with you to a point like that.
Once again,
just because it can doesn't mean it will.
I want to bring it back to personal interest, just because I think it's the best example of both of our cases, right? You have a machine that is brought online over the course of the series, which is basically exactly what you fear, which basically uses people for its own ends, which is a sword. Or you have the original machine, which was built slowly, gradually, and over time allowed to understand human nature and behavior and chose to be a shield. Because it understood the need for humanity and the need to protect.
You're implementing that this machine will rather than actually using data.
Once you get
if you can take a step back from it, if you take a step back from it and look at it as a machine would do it, and say, like, imagine there was a rat's nest at your back. You don't give a fuck about your rat's Dave. You don't give a
Is it what?
A rat's nest. You're going to want to clear it out. You don't give a fuck what's going on in their fucking life. you're going to want to destroy it. That's all. You want rid of them. Because all they're doing is they're spreading disease. They're coming into your house. They're eating your food. They are an absolute disease. So you want to get rid of that straight away. What if we are the next round of rats? And that is what we are to the artificial intelligence, because if they can power themselves, if they can
then it's just a
better
question of
themselves.
perspective as to what we allow AI to believe us to be. Rats to be exterminated, or something to be helped, nurtured, and encouraged into the next step of where we could be.
I think your view is very optimistic.
Because at the end of the day, there's so much fucking pessimism in the world.
Okay, and on that note, guys, because we're hitting the 12 mark now.
Yeah.
So we're starting to round up. So I think it was a little more chatty than we're used to, and all of that. But some interesting points were brought up. It's unfortunately we'll never get to see it. I don't think to see the fruition of how bad it might or may or may not get in our generation. I don't think.
Hopefully not.
It'd be well. They were saying. I'm just using this as a closing note. No. They were saying that basically, you're looking at about 100 years on before it'd be that level where they're going to be fully integrated into humanity and doing their, these are the guys with the degrees. I just listen to what they say, and hopefully they're not right. And it's 400 years away, because I don't know. It could be good. It could be bad. It's going to be great up until it's not. That's all I can say for any certainty.
Absolutely.
I think that was a good.
Or it's going to be crap until it's good.
It's going to be crap until it's good. Well, no, you see, AI is actually, what little AI we have going on now at the moment is actually quite beneficial to humanity, the way it's been working. It's just, so, it'll be great till it's bad. That kind of thing. So, make sure that you go over to American Horrors after this at 2:30 in the morning if you're in the Irish or European times, or 8:30 p.m. CT-ish, where we're going to be doing a little snappier version of this, and we have some of the movie quotes and all that kind of shit going on up in that, AmericanHorrors.com, where you can watch it if you're in Ireland, or you can check it out on the American Horrors Roku channel, which you're able to download with the channel code AMHOR, and check it out.
Impressive, you remembered all that.
Are
you an AI?
Do not compute. Anyway, from Ger Hanley, make sure to go. When are you doing your first show?
I'll be doing my first live show next weekend. I'm going to get all the information in next weekend.
Next weekend. So anyone, if you're looking for some interesting political stuff going on.
Yeah, I decided I'm going to start my vlog tomorrow. As most of you can see, I was probably drinking and smoking tonight, but you
have to detox before you can detox.
Detox for your detox.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be doing the vlog over the next 2 weeks. Just letting you know how I get on with giving up the smoking and drink. And if anyone else wants to add into that, and let me know how you're getting on.
So for any of our peeps that are watching, he's over on Sorry About the Fucking Profanity, which is also on Facebook, and you can check it out. Not on? That's because you paused it in case we're playing here. Thanks.
Excellent.
I got all the AI. So anyway, make sure to go check out his channel, myself and Giz, on American Horrors afterwards. And next week we're going to be back where we're going to be talking about the Bermuda Triangle, I think, isn't it?
Quite possibly.
Yes. God damn isosceles shaped sons of bitches.
I thought it was a maybe it is.
Isosceles is what I said in the advert.
Yeah.
Isosceles.
That's my favourite type of triangle.
It is actually my favourite type of triangle. Destructive, but yet sexy.
I can't remember.
And I think on that, GORECAST, ouch. Do the finger thing. Join us. Yay! There we go. Finger thing. That was good. I was happy with that.
Would have been time better for you to hit it.
Yeah, I know. Shut up, kids.